Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
And today we're continuing with our adventure to New Zealand. We're focusing specifically on Queenstown, and that's where nature's majesty meets thrilling adventures. Okay, so of course people travel for various reasons, and if you love the great outdoors and you love natural beauty and you like thrilling adventures, then this should be one of your top locations, your top choices for travel. Queenstown in New Zealand, and we talked about some of the things you can enjoy there. Let's see, what could we do there? We could do bungee jumping. What else could we do?
What? That was in Queenstown. Here, we're going to talk about maybe seeing some really cool insects that give off light. And the light
I really like those, yeah.
Well, it's not even white. It's blue-green, which is kind of crazy. Can go on a cruise if that's your speed. For a lot of older people, that's what they love, those cruises, which I can't blame them. They're kind of nice. You can go see some towering cliffs, some waterfalls, and just beautiful, beautiful scenery. As we said on day one, New Zealand is filled with beautiful nature and majestic landscapes all around. So we're going to explore this particular area and then finish off with kind of talking about some Maori culture and some of the things they do. Right now, we're going to read through today's lesson, and then we'll be back to discuss it, break it down. On the journey from Queenstown to Milford Sound, the enchanting glowworm caves of Tianau are a spot that travelers can't afford to miss. These illuminating insects give off mysterious blue-green light against the cave's dark background, creating a fascinating feast for the eyes. For a thrilling water adventure, kayaking along the clear waters is definitely a must-do. Those who haven't been satisfied by the day's adventure can consider extending their exploration with an overnight cruise aboard the Milford Mariner. They can spend the night on board a comfortable ship, surrounded by the beauty of towering cliffs and rushing waterfalls. Day or night, there are endless opportunities to indulge in Milford Sound's natural splendor. While exploring Queenstown and its surroundings, tourists should be mindful of sandflies and the region's unpredictable weather. Unlike common flies, sandflies feed on blood, like mosquitoes, and they're prevalent in humid areas. So carrying insect repellent and dressing in layers are always advisable. Also, the town's weather can change swiftly, from sunshine to rain within a day, so it's wise to have the right gear on hand. One last thing to bear in mind. In Maori culture, it's customary to remove your shoes before entering certain places, particularly marae, their sacred meeting grounds or private homes. This shows your respect and acknowledgement of their traditions. Offering an unforgettable blend of adventure, natural beauty, and cultural experiences that win the hearts of travelers, the journey from Queenstown to Milford Sound will be cherished for a lifetime. Whether it's leaping off a bridge into the depths or savoring local treats, this spectacular route promises memories that will last many years to come.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's discuss the contents of the second part of our lesson, all about Queenstown and the surrounding area there. And again, it's a place where nature's majesty meets thrilling adventures like bungee jumping and skydiving and things like that. But you're not only going to hang out in Queenstown and at that lake. On the journey from Queenstown to Milford Sound, the enchanting glowworm caves of Te Anau are a spot that travelers can't afford to miss. Okay, so we've got the word sound here. That's a body of water. It's kind of narrow that connects to larger bodies of water. I can only think of one sound in the USA. There's Puget Sound, which is near Seattle there. It's just kind of a body of water that's between land, but then at the other ends of the body of water are larger bodies of water. So here we've got just this body of water called Milford Sound, and you can stop by these caves there. which are called the caves of Te Anau. I hope I said that. Te Anau. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not responsible for how they talk in New Zealand. I'm from America. But in any case, yes, you can go to these caves there, and you can check out these glowworms there, which I think might be the same thing as fireflies or lightning bugs. I think they have different words for these creatures in different parts of the world. Inghuochong is the term you use here in Taiwan. You can go see these glowworms in those caves if you're into that sort of thing.
The cool thing about these, though, is that they are a blue-green color. So their light is a little different than just kind of the basic white or off-white that we often see. They're illuminating. We often use illuminating not just to talk about lighting up, which is what illuminating means. That's the literal definition, but the figurative would be if you learn something, you say, wow, that was really illuminating. It just means it taught you a lot. Now you understand something better that was very illuminating. But here, these insects are illuminating, and they give off or emit. That's another word for give off, E-M-I-T, emit, a mysterious blue-green light. And it's against the cave's dark background. So you're going into some caves. I know some people out there get a little nervous going into caves, but wow, I've seen some of the coolest things going into underground caves especially, but even caves that are above ground can always have some sort of fascinating sight for you. These create a fascinating feast for the eyes. A feast is usually a lot of dishes that look beautiful and taste delicious, but here we're saying it's really beautiful to look at. It's almost like you're giving your eyes a meal.
Right, and it might be tricky or difficult to photograph those fireflies or those glowworms, but to give it your best shot. And for a thrilling water adventure, kayaking along the clear waters is definitely a must-do. So this is another type of water activity in addition to water skiing and surfboarding or whatever. This is kayaking, which means you sit in a boat that's similar to a canoe, but your legs are kind of underneath it, and you have a paddle, and you paddle on both sides of the boat. I've only gone kayaking once, and I found it kind of exhausting. I'm not sure if I would do it again, but I can understand why some people love to do this. And yes, indeed, you can do some kayaking along those clear waters. It's a must-do for people who love the great outdoors.
Yeah, notice you can do this with must-do. It turns into a noun. A must-see is also a noun. You have to put a hyphen between those two words. Those who haven't been satisfied by the day's adventure can consider extending their exploration with an overnight cruise. So once you're there at Milford Sound, which is about 172 kilometers from Queenstown, and usually people will drive there or take a bus, and most of the journey is actually around the edge of Lake Wakatipu, so it'd be really pretty. But anyway, if you've seen the caves and you've still got some energy left, our author here suggests taking an overnight cruise. Overnight just means you'll spend the night aboard that particular ship. Remember, if it's a boat, it's very small. If it's a ship, it's quite big. Remember, don't use boat if it's a cruise ship or a cruise liner. A cruise usually isn't just taking you from one place to another. You're going to see some sights. So a cruise can be a long cruise. Maybe you're going on a 2-week cruise, a 3-week cruise, maybe a 2-day cruise. Who knows? But they're kind of fun. And this particular cruise liner or ship is called the Milford Mariner. That's its name.
That's the name of the cruise ship. Of course, here in Taiwan, lots of cruise ships dock in Geelong. I think they also go to Kaohsiung as well. And of course, if you're on an overnight cruise, well, you could choose to sleep in the boat while it's traveling. A lot of people take overnight trains or overnight buses so that they don't have to spend money on a hotel or something when they're traveling. I had a lot of friends who did that when they traveled in Europe. They took overnight trains. But here it's an overnight cruise or a cruise that starts at dusk and goes to dawn at the end of the day to the beginning of the day. And the name of the boat, of course, as we said, is the Milford Mariner, which has to do with the sea. A mariner, of course, is a sailor. And they can spend the night on board a comfortable ship surrounded by the beauty of towering cliffs and rushing waterfalls. So here we've got the word towering. That's kind of hard to say because the W is in there, towering.
Yeah.
It just means they're really, really high. They're really, really tall. And these are cliffs, which are rock faces that are very steep, and they're usually at the end of or they're next to a body of water. Like there are lots of cliffs on the east coast of Taiwan between, Suao and Hualien. There are lots of cliffs there. And you could see the cliffs there. And you could also see those waterfalls, which are rushing, which means the water is going over them quite quickly, and they make a lot of noise.
Wow. You can also use towering, guys, to describe something that's just really tall. Maybe you have some work on your desk, and it looks like you have a towering pile of paperwork to go through. So you can use those in different ways. Cliffs, yeah, cliffs are everywhere. Especially if you're in a country or in an area that's close to the ocean. The first thing I thought of when I saw cliffs was the Dover Cliffs, which are in England. Or I was in Cornwall for a while, and those cliffs are so high. And the wind blows so hard you could be pushed into the water if you're not careful. So these are towering cliffs, rushing waterfalls, which are beautiful. Day or night, there are endless opportunities to indulge. To treat yourself means to indulge. In Milford Sound's natural splendor, splendor just means beauty. We use it a lot when we're talking about nature and something that's really magnificent. But honestly, we use it with nature a lot. Grandeur, splendor, those sorts of words are very popular.
And I did want to mention that Cliff can also be a man's name. My roommate in college during my sophomore year, his name was Clifton, and we called him Cliff for short. Spelled with 2 F's if it's short, just 1 F if it's the regular form, but that's just another story here. Cliff here again refers to a rock face next to a body of water. It doesn't have to be next to a body of water, but it usually is. Now, we'll move on to the next paragraph here in just a couple of seconds, but first we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
听众朋友大家好，我们昨天开始带大家到纽西兰的皇后镇。我们昨天讲到纽西兰，哇，真的很漂亮。皇后镇呢，就是高空弹跳出名啦，然后还有很多的美食。不过今天呢，我们来看一下其他的活动哦。比如说在第一段当中啊，其实如果你到这个皇后镇啊，还可以到一个米尔福德峡湾 Milford Sound。在这个旅程当中，我们可以看一些什么东西呢？第一段告诉我们，比如说我们可以去萤火虫洞啦，或甚至是划独木舟啦之类的。好，所以第一段这个第一句当中啊，第一句当中其实有一个限定用法关系子句。不过你如果眼睛尖一点的话呢，你可以看得到，这从后面的 that 一直到句尾可以先左右括号。那先行词真的就是前面的 a spot， 就是这一个地点。这个地点就是这个萤火虫洞这个地点，你绝对不能够错过哦。这括号里面的 someone can't afford to do something， 字面上是负担不起，我负担不起错过哦，言下之意就是我绝对不能错过的意思。好，那么第二句呢就有提到啦，像这些发光的昆虫哦，其实它是在洞穴当中，然后会发出一些蓝色啊、绿色的这个光芒，就会呈现出这种很特别的一种视觉响应。在第二句当中，我们也不能够这个疏忽掉，因为逗点之后有一个 creating， 没有错，你猜的没有错，它是一个非限定用法的关系子句。我们先把它还原，逗点之后的 creating 是 which， 我们昨天特别讲 which， 逗点之后只能加 which 或者是 who。好 ，which creates 创造出 a fascinating feast for the eyes。可这里的 which 是什么呢？大家想想看，如果是它正前方的 dark background， 这样文意就会很奇怪呢。所以在这边要特别提醒大家，非限定用法补充说明的关系子句，如果是一个which的关系子句，它有可能先行词指的是逗点前面的整句话啦。所以像在这边第一段的第二句就是这样子的一个功能。总而言之呢，发光虫洞穴当中，哇，这些光芒 which， 哇，就创造出了这个我们很棒的一个视觉响应。好，这边特别注意一下，画个荧光笔。好，那当然呢，如果你还是想要有一个水上冒险活动的话呢，除了高空弹跳，可以去 kayaking， 就是划独木舟。那如果说划独木舟你觉得还无法满足的话呢，还可以有其他的这个，比如说过夜游轮， 但是在第一段当中啊，我们来看一下这个第三句。这个第三句当中，我想要把最后面的这个 the clear waters clear 这个形容词抓出来。clear 这个字啊，它当形容词的时候，它指的是穿得透的，并不是干净哦。当然，如果你说不干净不能穿透，对了，那是一个逻辑的问题。可是关键是 clear 这个字啊，它的重点并不是干不干净，而是很清澈能穿透的意思。所以我们如果说很好的宝石，或者是说像水啊很清澈，有没有？我们会说 crystal clear， 像水晶一般的清澈。那另外一个 clean C-L-E-A-N 则是指肮脏程度的那个所谓的干净，就不谈穿不穿透了。好，所以这边的 clear 我想要特别抓出来讲一下。那当然接下来的第四句 those who 是我们常见的句型啊，就限定用法嘛吼。那些什么什么的人，所以这个地方如果很熟就不用特别划线了，只要是做笔记就做很重要而且自己通常不清楚的地方。比如说像在第五句的这里，第五句这边呢，其实有一个关系子句的简化，不晓得大家有没有注意到。我们刚刚说啊，如果说你这个白天的活动冒险没办法满足的话，晚上还有一个过夜游轮呢。那这个过夜游轮呢，是一个很舒适的一个旅程哦。在第五句这边逗点前面的 a comfortable ship， 在这个很舒适的一个船上面啊来过夜。这个舒适的船逗点之后 which is 做一个省略， which is surrounded， 而且是被什么东西呢？是被高耸的悬崖还有湍急的瀑布来环绕的。所以夜晚好像也不是那么宁静，如果有湍急的瀑布是很特别，而且可以看到晚上的不同的这个景色。当然不分日夜啦，就是有很多的自然奇景我们都可以 to indulge in， 都可以去让自己可以沉醉其中。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. It's day 2 of our adventure in New Zealand, and today we're focusing on Milford Sound, another area of water that's really beautiful. And we've talked about how it has glowworm caves in Te Anau. And you can go from there to kayaking if you really like to kayak in the water. One of my best friends loves to go kayaking. You have to really have good shoulder and arm muscles to be a good kayaker, I would say. But this particular area has clear waters. It's probably not as difficult to go there and kayak as opposed to, a really strong river where you're going to go kayaking. That can be dangerous. Now, if you still have some energy, you can actually get onto a cruise liner called the Milford Mariner and spend the night on board, surrounded by this picturesque area with towering cliffs and rushing waterfalls. This sounds so gorgeous. So day or night, our author says there are endless opportunities to indulge or treat yourself to some natural splendor.
Right, that cruise ship sounds kind of fun because you can probably relax and get a deck chair and enjoy a cocktail or something to eat and enjoy the scenery and just have the time of your life. Now, let's go on to the next paragraph in today's lesson. It says, while exploring Queenstown and its surroundings, tourists should be mindful of sandflies and the region's unpredictable weather. Okay, so again, we're focusing on Queenstown, but we're also focusing on the surroundings of Queenstown, the various places that are near Queenstown. We could say, for example, Taipei's surroundings include places like Xindian and Geelong and Sanxia. Those are the surroundings or the areas that are around Taipei. And here, Queenstown has some surroundings there. I think Milford Sound would be considered in the surroundings of Queenstown. But you need to be careful or you need to be mindful of sand flies. And it also has unpredictable weather. What the heck are sand flies?
They sound terrible. I had heard of them before. They love blood. So they're kind of like those little pesky mosquitoes we are very familiar with here in Taiwan. Oh, mosquitoes love me, I must say. And even though I like to sleep, especially during the winter, I like to sleep with my balcony window and door open Oh, those mosquitoes love to come in. And
Don't you have a screen?
I do. It's not enough. So
They still get in.
Yeah,
huh?
they still get in. I've seen them in our elevator. So I know they come up in the elevator sometimes too. So they're not like common flies, which just like to go and sit on your food and eat your food that you've left out on a counter or a table. These sandflies feed on blood. If you feed on something, that's what you eat to nourish yourself. Please don't use feed on if you're talking about people. No, it's only for animals. They feed on something. Or a monster. A monster will feed on human flesh. But these little sandflies, they feed on blood. And they're prevalent or found in great quantities. Prevalent, that's what that means. In humid areas, just like Taiwan's mosquitoes. Yeah, mosquitoes. Maybe it's any sort of bug that feeds on blood. Maybe they like to be where there's a lot of humidity.
Indeed. So, therefore, carrying insect repellent and dressing in layers are always advisable. So these are two things you can do. You can carry insect repellent and you can dress in layers. And those two things are always advisable. That's a highly suggested activity or a precaution that you should take. Bring along that insect repellent, which is like a chemical. It could be a spray or a lotion. And you can simply put it on your body to repel those insects. To repel means to keep them away. And also you might want to dress in layers, okay? Wear light layers of clothing and have a base layer and then maybe put a sweater on top of that and then have a coat depending on how cold it is. Put some layers on so the bugs can't get to you. It might also be advisable to bring along one of those electric fly swatters that are so common here in Taiwan. I remember having relatives come to visit in Taiwan and they saw those things and they thought, what a great idea! And they bought some and they took them back to the States. I guess they're quite effective in killing flies and mosquitoes and things like that. Dianwen Pai electric fly swatter.
Do you know, I've never bought one of those, but my doorman has one and he loves it. But I think, well, you have to be looking for them. You know, I just want something to kill them while I'm doing something else. But yeah, I've heard they're really effective. I wanted to mention with layers, we use it with things that have different sheets or quantities or maybe a thickness of material, one on top of another. For example, you bakers out there who like to bake, you could make a 5-layer cake where there's one layer, then another, and then another, and another, layers, different layers. Yeah, I know we're also taught to dress in layers during the winter, especially if you're outside doing some sports, you get sweaty, and then you want to take off a layer. If you only have one coat on, though, you can't really take off your coat.
You'll get really cold really fast, yeah. So, yeah, you need to dress in layers, and those two things are very advisable. So that's a little bit of a precaution you can take when traveling to this part of the world. Also, the town's weather can change swiftly or quickly from sunshine to rain within a day, so it's wise to have the right gear on hand. So it could be very sunny during one part of the day, and then it can be raining. And of course, sometimes when it rains, the temperature goes down as well. So you need to make sure you have an extra jacket or something so you don't get cold. And of course, you're going to need an umbrella or maybe a rain poncho.
Yeah, so this kind of reminds me of Taiwan in the summer. We'll go from a really hot day and then it'll just thunderstorm in the afternoon and drop the temperature down to where it's actually quite pleasant. And I love that. So it's wise to have the right gear on hand. Gear is equipment. Gear here is a non-count noun, just as equipment is. You cannot say equipments. Please don't ever do that, guys. And you can't say gears if you're talking about things that you use in a particular activity, or if you're outside, maybe you've got fishing gear. You've got your pole. You've got what do you call the little things you put on the
lure,
the lure, the hook, the worms, whatever you use to go fishing. That's all part of your gear. If you've got the rain gear, you could have, like Tom said, a poncho, an umbrella, anything that'll keep you dry. Now, one last thing to bear in mind, if you go to another country, you should know their culture so you don't offend people as you're visiting. That's not cool. You want them to have a good impression of people from Taiwan, especially. So in the Maori culture, those are the Aboriginal people in New Zealand. It's customary, it's usual, it's what they do as a custom. They will remove their shoes before entering certain places, and particularly places referred to as mare. Mare, of course, is in their language. And these are defined as being sacred meeting grounds. Sacred could be related to God. It could be related to something where people care very, very much about something. Maybe it's for a religious reason, or maybe they're just trying to preserve their culture. So these are sacred meeting grounds, and they consider their private homes to be sacred. These are mare.
And this, of course, is not difficult for people from Taiwan or Japan because you're all used to removing your shoes before you go into someone's home. But this might be advisable for Westerners who don't have that habit. And if you remove your shoes, this shows your respect and, of course, that you acknowledge or recognize the traditions of the Maori in New Zealand. Okay,
Yeah.
Now moving on to the final paragraph here, it says, offering an unforgettable blend of adventure, natural beauty, and cultural experiences that win the hearts of travelers, the journey from Queenstown to Milford Sound will be cherished for a lifetime. So again, we were focusing on the town of Queenstown, but you are also going to Milford Sound, which is a little bit of a distance away. And all of these places, of course, offer lots of adventures and great landscapes for you to check out. And you also get some of these cultural experiences. You get to enjoy food. Maybe you might get to go into a sacred Maori structure or something like that. So, of course, it will be something that you will cherish or treasure for the rest of your life.
Right. So whether it's leaping off a bridge, if you're going to go bungee jumping, you crazy people, into the depths of savoring local treats, it could be, bungee jumping, skydiving, or even eating their delicious treats over there, their delights, as we called them, tasty delights. This spectacular route promises memories that will last many years to come. Spectacular just means really beautiful in a very eye-catching way. Long ago, before we called glasses eyeglasses, they were called spectacles, something that we could look through and see. So this is a spectacular, that's the adjective form, a spectacular route. A route is just one way or a course or a way to get from one place to another. Your route. It promises memories that will last many years to come, or you could say it would be a memorable trip.
Indeed. So again, this is the kind of trip that's suitable for somebody who loves the great outdoors. I do, but I think it's fairly far down my list of priorities for travel because I tend to like cultural things. But that's another subject for another day. I'm sure lots of our lovely students do love adventure and they would enjoy a trip to this place in the world. Okay, we're at the end of our explanation for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
好，接着我们就来看到，在第二段很重要，我们到一个地方有没有什么要特别注意的呢？有耶，因为这个纽西兰的皇后镇它其实有沙蝇，是一种苍蝇。它这种苍蝇呢，跟蚊子一样会吸血。好，我们看一下第二段第一句逗点之后看到 sandflies， 就是所谓的沙蝇。可是这一句有一个连接词保留的分词构句哦。连接词是 while 就是 when 的意思。当大家正在探索纽西兰跟它的环境的时候，大家要特别注意 sandflies。那为什么连接词要保留啊？不就是说要简化连接词不见动词才会变成 ing 吗？这个连接词的意思很多有 while 表时间， if 表条件， although 表成让步，还有 because 表原因，这么多。有时候作者想要提醒读者，我这里是在讲时间哦，就把连接词保留了。这时候你就觉得很困扰了，对不对？明明就有连接词为什么还是有动词 ing 总而言之，就是一个英文的例外嘛。我们就说英文有时候其实它是很简单，它就是难在它的例外多。所以分词构句有时候连接词还会保留我们说是连接词保留的分词构句。但不管怎么样，你看逗点之后 tourists 这个主词主题在 while 这边就没有看见啦，它的确被简化，所以动词后面的 explore 就直接也是简化变成 ing 型。好，这个地方也要特别注意一下。当然接下来我们来看到 就是说除了沙银之外，因为它会吸血嘛，所以一定要带这个 insect repellent， 就是驱虫剂啊。然后呢，就是我们特别要穿着是洋葱式的穿搭法。这个洋葱式穿搭法，中文讲洋葱式真的很传神，可英文真的跟阿年这字完全没有关系，我们一定要特别把它抓出来。在第二段第三句前面一点 be 动词前面的地方 dress in layers， 就是一层一层的穿，这叫做洋葱式的穿搭法哦。所以就是呢，不能一下子穿太厚，要一层一层叠上去。好，那么还有什么要注意呢？就是说它的天气多变啦，所以要有一些合宜的装备啊、雨具啊等等。还有另外一个就是一个 custom， 有一个文化风俗要特别注意。通常呢，进入私人住宅啊，或者是一些神圣的集会场所，都要脱鞋子哦。所以我们在第二段的第5句这边也看到了虚主词的这个句型 ，It's customary to remove your shoes. It's 怎么样怎么样，这个虚主词 to do something。那当然，我们昨天到今天都在谈皇后镇，有高空弹跳啦，或者是萤火虫洞啦，甚至还有这种过夜游轮啦。好，虽然说我们要特别注意沙银啦，还有呢其他的这个脱鞋的这个习惯，但是纽西兰还是真的值得一去的。那么最后面的第3段就提醒大家，在第1句还是一个分词构句，我们就可以练习看看啦。Offering 提供，谁提供呢？逗点之后的 the journey， 这个旅程，这一趟旅行才是真正的主词主角。好，那么希望有空呢，大家也可以都到纽西兰的皇后镇去走走。希望大家喜欢这2天的内容，我是安娜，我们下次见。
That is it for today, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and make sure you check out our content on YouTube and Facebook for additional lessons in English. We hope we can help you improve your English listening comprehension ability, and we look forward to seeing you in our program next time. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.